बनारस हिंदू विश्वविद्यालय हमारे विश्वविद्यालय समूह में सबसे सर्वश्रेष्ठ विश्वविद्यालय है और विश्वनाथ की नगरी है। और मैं समझता हूँ कि यहाँ पढ़ने वाले पढ़ाने वाले हमारे प्रोफेसर्स छात्राएँ बहुत भाग्यशाली हैं। और हम लोग भारतवासी भी इस बात पर गर्व करते हैं कि महामना मदन मोहन मालवीय जी ने जिस विश्वविद्यालय की स्थापना की उसके पीछे उनके मन में कुछ नया उद्देश्य था। वो चाहते थे कि हम इस बात को अच्छी तरह समझ लें कि हमारी शिक्षा का उद्देश्य केवल ज्ञान प्राप्त करके नौकरी को ढूंढना नहीं है, जिसकी ओर संकेत प्रोफेसर राठौर जी ने थोड़ी देर पहले किया। वो ये मानते थे पढ़ने पढ़ाने वाले लोग एक अलग कैटेगरी के लोग होते हैं। वो देश और दुनिया को बेहतर बनाना चाहते हैं, कुछ देना चाहते हैं, कुछ करना चाहते हैं और कुछ अनूठी छाप छोड़ करके जाना चाहते हैं। ऐसे लोगों के लिए विश्वविद्यालय के दरवाजे खोले जाते हैं और ऐसा हुआ भी। पिछले 75 वर्षों में जो आशातीत सफलताएँ हम लोगों ने प्राप्त की, न केवल अपने देश में बल्कि दुनिया में, और निश्चित रूप से इस बात को दर्शाती हैं that the university education has lived up to its desired expectation। लेकिन आज जब मैं आपके सामने यहाँ खड़ा हूँ तो मैं ये जानता हूँ कि स्थिति कुछ और है। विषम परिस्थितियाँ हैं जिनके बारे में निश्चित रूप से हम नज़रअंदाज नहीं कर सकते। दुनिया के बड़े बड़े राष्ट्र आज धराशायी हो रहे हैं। उनकी इकोनॉमिक स्थिति उतनी मजबूत नहीं है जितनी कि आज से 10-20 वर्षों पहले हम देखा करते। मैं स्वयं इंग्लैंड में पढ़ने के लिए गया भारत सरकार की स्कॉलरशिप, और जब वहाँ बर्मिंघम यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ा मुझे ये देख करके बहुत प्रसन्नता हुई जिन बातों की हम आज चर्चा कर रहे हैं 2023 में इंडस्ट्री इंस्टीट्यूशन पार्टनरशिप की, स्किल डेवलपमेंट की, क्वालिटी ऑफ एजुकेशन की, रेलिवेंस ऑफ रिसर्च की, और एक ऐसा लर्निंग एनवायरनमेंट जिसमें टीचिंग सही मायने में लर्निंग और लर्निबिलिटी को बढ़ावा देती हो, एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी को सुनिश्चित करती हो, ऐसा माहौल मैंने 1973 में यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ बर्मिंघम में देखा। जब मैं वहाँ पहुँचा तो मुझे इस बात की प्रसन्नता हुई जो भी पढ़ाया जा रहा है उसके पीछे मकसद है। वहाँ जो पढ़ाने वाले हमारे प्राध्यापक थे, प्रोफेसर थे, बड़ी स्माइलिंग उसमें मुद्रा में आते थे और आते से सबकी तरफ ऐसा देखते थे किसी का चेहरा मुरझाया हुआ तो नहीं। सबको प्रोत्साहन करने के बाद तो कुछ कहानी सुनाते। इंजीनियरिंग और टेक्नोलॉजी के प्रोफेसर की बात कर रहा हूँ। सबको पूरी तरह से एक्साइट करने के बाद, उनकी इमेजिनेशन को एक्साइट करने के बाद वो कहते थे आज मैं आपको जो पढ़ाने जा रहा हूँ इसका बहुत ज़्यादा मतलब है उस दुनिया के लिए जिसमें आप पढ़ करके जाना चाहते हैं। They used to create tremendous amount of interest in what we were learning, and that is why each one of us took tremendous amount of interest into what was taught, and we became so successful in life. हम तो आजकल क्लास में आते से धड़ा की बातें करना शुरू कर देते हैं। देखो इतनी देर लगती है आप भैया कोई में जब मैं आकर के प्रोफेसर बना तो वहाँ पढ़ने और पढ़ाने के तरीके कुछ अलग थे। Teachers were of course highly learned, they were well qualified. Each one of us had qualifications from great institutions. But perhaps we were not realizing what is the meaning and purpose of education for which students have come to the university. वो ये नहीं समझ पा रहे थे कि पढ़ने और पढ़ाने का मतलब होता है कि हम कुछ करने के काबिल बन सकें। Learning to know is not just enough. Today, of course, there are ample and infinite opportunities for each one of you to know what exists in this world. Without wasting much time, you can go straight away onto the search engine and search about not only what is happening in India in a particular domain or discipline, but what's happening around the world. You can even get the expert advice as to the emerging trends and challenges in a particular area. Therefore, the question of learning to do is no longer all that relevant for the new age learners. एक नई एज में हम लोग आ गए हैं. Here the question is more about learning to do. What can I do with the body of knowledge that I have acquired both inside the university as well as by my own efforts? I asked my grandson before coming here, who is studying in America, and also asked to another grandson who is studying in India. One of them is at the school level, another one is at the university level. Both of them said something very important. They said there is not much teaching nowadays, neither in school nor in the university. ना यूनिवर्सिटी में और ना स्कूल में टीचिंग की बात नहीं है. We learn a lot outside the classroom, he said. He said that today nobody is talking about teaching you. A teacher comes to the class, he only introduces you to what really he would like you to learn. He understands your interest and therefore gives you a topic and he says you explore about it. This is happening even at the school level. At the university level, rather than teaching from the books, they prefer to give all the books to you in the form of e-books well before the session begins. And on the very first day, they ask you to design and develop something. Form a team of your common interest group. In that team, you divide the work and learn about how to plan for execution of design and development and commissioning of a particular product which you want to design and develop to solve the problem. And on the way you learn whatever you require in order to make that project successful. Of course, lectures are still there. And they value add your learning that you do by learning to do by self-learning. So that way the collaborative environment of learning to know as well as learning to do creates the kind of capable people that the world requires. This is what exactly happening in the great universities of the world. When we ask ourselves why our own universities are not in the top 100 ranking list of Times Higher Education or QS, often we lament. But what we don't realize that much of the changes that are required in our approach to education today have to be now adopted because this is 21st century. When I was going to become the Vice Chancellor for the first time in 1999, I picked up two books at the airport. One of the books was written by Bill Gates, 1999. And the top title of the book was Business at the Speed of Thought. Business at the Speed of Thought. You can still read that book. I was surprised that here is someone who is the founder of Microsoft and he is talking about business at the speed of thought. It reminded to me my own childhood days when I went to a guru, he said, "You want some jalebi?" I get you jalebi, like this. I said, "Okay, rasgulla ला के दिखाओ." क्योंकि विदिशा में रसगुल्ला थोड़ा मुश्किल से मिलता था. और खाओ के रसगुल्ला ही. किसी ने कहा कि नहीं साहब मैं तो तिल के लड्डू खाने का एक्सपर्ट हूँ. This is the business at the speed of thought. I said, Bill Gates is saying that business would be at the speed of thought. Now almost 24, 25 years later, now we realize that the transaction of the speed at which the business is being transacted is ever-increasing. We have already come to a limit where we are finding that the minute you click, the work is delivered. So the final stop are the connectivity-oriented, technology-integrated, communication and artificial intelligence technology-integrated systems will lead you to business at the speed of thought. It is not just for jalebi and laddu. This would also equally apply to when you want to talk to each other or when you want to do great many things together. In fact, we are moving into an age where our own Vedas, our own Vedic gurus and rishis perform the kind of miracles in those days. They would disappear from here and appear in the office of the Vice Chancellor of a university without the need of an aeroplane or a bus or a train or a car which was required to go to the airport. And they would be able to transform the entire mass as well as energy in the right earnest and take it to the place of their desire exactly in the same format without losing even the iota of form or figure or information or data. This is called business at the speed of thought. If Bill Gates has written this, take it seriously. You and I cannot stop. Technology will continue to impact the businesses, the industry, the governance, as well as the behavior of people. And therefore, I think we need to prepare ourselves to meet and greet the challenge of technology that is coming even in the education sector. The second book, of course, was most important. It was written by a management guru. The management guru's name is Peter Drucker, one of the most brilliant management guru of the world who has recently expired. He was the one who was looking at year 1999 from a different perspective, because internet had just arrived. In 1999, internet had just arrived. And what Peter Drucker said is something would be important for younger people here, present here. He said that 30 years from now, आज से 30 साल बाद, large university campuses will be relics, like Nalanda and Takshashila. You will say, here was great BHU, established by Mahamana Madan Mohan Malviya. He was of the opinion that we are moving into a world where large university campuses, which are currently engaged in preparing people of knowledge by imparting education in the classrooms and in the laboratory, will become relics. Maybe he was pointing towards a new era where learning would happen anywhere, anytime, and for anyone without coming to even to the classrooms of a learned teacher. The prophecy said 30 years from now, and we are already now 24 years. So you can very well assume that in the next 5 or 6 years, the kind of things which are going to roll out would compel us to think that we need to meet and greet these challenges right now before we become obsolete and become relics of the kind that is the prophecy of the great management guru, Peter Drucker. Now, in this context now, I want to talk about how to govern the university, because the topic given to me is about governance of the university. The whole world today is looking at India. They are not looking at America, they are not looking at Europe, they are not looking at United Kingdom, they are looking at you. They are also not looking at South Korea. No longer people are looking at Japan. Of course, they can't look at China from close quarters because it's not an open country, but they are looking at us from close quarters. They have high expectations from India, because here the context of education was not limited to merely getting capabilities for employment. मैं जब पैदा हुआ था, मेरे गांव में अगर कोई कहे कि मेरा बेटा नौकरी करता है शहर में, तो कहते थे कि तुम्हारा दिवाला पिट गया है क्या? घर में कुछ नहीं है काम करने के लिए कि बेटे को किसी और का नौकर बना दिया. This was the kind of society in which I was born. It was a prosperous society, I can assure you. The rich were rich, but poor were no poor. Everybody was happy. And that time, the whole context of our education was such that you should create capabilities by which you can use those capabilities locally to do something good for your own society, for your own nation, for your own people. And through this, of course, propagate the very best to the rest of the world. Our ships going from India were not carrying talwars or guns or missiles. They were carrying what is good for humanity. And that is why you were winning the hearts of the people without waging any war or winning any territory. That's why India was the Vishnu, because the context of education was not seen in terms of the kind of corporate dominance or the kind of culture that we have created for massification of consumption. People like me today may have about 7 or 8 or 10 suits. Not required, really speaking. You could do away with just 1 or 2. Look at the cupboards of our society today. They are full of textile without realizing that textile is a major polluter. And we are perhaps budgeting much more than what we should. We created, in fact, an education system that created a society that cares least for anybody else other than himself or herself. And because of this, we have created an enormous amount of challenges. You all know about those challenges. I did not narrate it. And therefore, the context in which now we have to manage our higher education in the university is to be seen from the point of view, how can you go back to your own education system of ancient India, where education was intrinsically integrated with character as well as the attitude of the people. शिक्षा, संस्कृति और संस्कार तीनों की त्रिवेणी सही मायने में शिक्षा के मंदिरों में बहती थी और उसी की वजह से जो कैपेबल लोग थे वो समाज के लिए, देश के लिए, ह्यूमैनिटी के लिए कुछ करना चाहते। उनके मन में वसुधैव कुटुंबकम का भाव था। उनके मन में परहित सरिष्ठ धर्म नहीं भाई पर पीड़ा सब नहीं अजमाई वाला मूल मंत्र था। उनके मन में ये भी था कि हमारे पूर्वजों ने हमें आगाह किया है that truthfulness and righteous conduct is absolutely necessary for a person of knowledge. And that is why even till date, Satyadev Jayate remains as our watchword, the mool mantra of India's core philosophy. अभी तो सच बोलने में डर लगता है, because we have not bothered to carry forward these values for which education was to be imparted. Education cannot merely be restricted to creating capability to serve the interest of the industry or for that reason great corporates. It cannot be limited to that. Likewise, science and technology cannot merely be the slaves of the industries and corporate. They are to be the great friends of people. I need science for life. I need science for good health. I need science and technology of wellness today. I need science and technology by which I can reprocess the entire wastewater that I have unfortunately become accustomed to producing. I have challenged before me to clean my holy rivers, and you should be very happy that the government of India, under the visionary leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, is taking a great many initiatives to engage seriously into translating our science into the science of people, science for society, and science for national development. यहाँ आने के पहले मुझे सबसे बड़ी बात खुशी हुई, आपके नज़दीक में कानपुर नाम का शहर है और ये शहर नंबर 1 पॉल्यूटेड सिटी था हमारे दुनिया की जब आकलन हुआ तो नंबर 1 मोस्ट पॉल्यूटेड सिटी में आया। क्यों? क्योंकि सबसे ज़्यादा चमड़े का उद्योग कानपुर में है और सबसे ज़्यादा टेक्सटाइल का उद्योग भी कानपुर में है और दोनों ही मेजर पॉल्यूटर्स और उसकी वजह से जो नाले थे, apart from carrying the untreated sewage, they were carrying forward tremendous amount of wastewater to river Ganga. हमारी सरकार ने पूरा उठाया कि इसको हमें ठीक करके दिखाना। If we can treat and correct the environment in Kanpur, we can do it anywhere in India. Because we need to do it at hundreds of places in India, including in Delhi, where air quality is as high as 999 microgram per cubic meter many a times. What they did in Kanpur is to wage a war against wastewater and treat it in such a manner that you can go and take a dubki in Ganga Ji in Kanpur and even drink the water directly from the river. And this kind of success story, where science for people, science for society, science for development is to be talked about. Therefore, our biggest challenge at the moment in higher education, if you really ask me, is how to transform the higher education in university to align it to the national missions and global aspirations of the kind that are knocking at our doorstep. I hope you all heard about the government mission of circular economy. We are moving into the world where we will not be allowed to discharge anything as a waste into the atmosphere. Everything has to be recycled and reused, and unless you do this, you would not be able to create the blissful world in which you all want to live happy and healthy and prosperous. And that is why the new world requires a serious departure into our approach of education to prepare our cadre of students, capable students, to meet and greet the challenge of the circular economy. मुसीबत हमारे देश में क्या है कि जो अच्छे काम हैं उनकी चर्चा बार बार नहीं होती. We don't talk of circular economy as much as we should. While it should be written everywhere that the PHU will take major lead in terms of providing and equipping the nation for its success in the circular economy mission. स्वच्छ भारत मिशन कोई छोटी मोटी बात नहीं है. हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब ने कहा था स्वच्छ भारत मिशन 2.0 का मतलब यह है कि एक बूंद भी अनट्रीटेड सीवेज या अनट्रीटेड वेस्ट वाटर फ्रॉम द इंडस्ट्री हमारी नदियों में या वाटर बॉडीज में डायरेक्टली डिस्चार्ज नहीं किया जाएगा. दिस रिक्वायर्स प्रिपेयरिंग पीपल ऑफ माइंड, पीपल ऑफ साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी दैट विल मेक सच ए मिशन सो सक्सेसफुल. तब जाकर के हम और आप 100 साल तक जीवित रह पाएंगे और नहीं तो नहीं. Air as well as water, these were the two great medicines of the soul given to you free of cost, and we have destroyed both of them and we are paying a great penalty. Our forefathers also used the governance system as well as the business system, what they call governance with atmita, as well as business with atmita. आपको सुनते ये शब्द बड़े अजीब और गरीब लग रहे होंगे. बिजनेसमैन तो कहता है बिजनेस फॉर प्रॉफिट. दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव बीन टॉट. But really speaking, our forefathers conducted business with atmita. अभी भी आप जब सब्जी खरीदने जाते हैं तो आपने जो कुछ खरीदा वो दिया और आखिरी में बिना आपसे पूछे धनिया पत्ता और मिर्ची अपनी तरफ से वो सब्जी वाला आपके झोले में डालता है और आपसे उसके पैसे नहीं लेता. दिस इज कॉल्ड बिजनेस विद atmita. क्योंकि सब्जी वाला ये जानता है कि सारी सब्जी के बाद अगर धनिया और मिर्ची हमारे ग्राहकों ने नहीं खाई तो वो स्वस्थ नहीं रहेंगे और अगर स्वस्थ नहीं होंगे तो हमारी सब्जी खरीदने कौन आएगा. दिस इज कॉल्ड बिजनेस विद atmita. Our forefathers were very much clear that the entire purpose of higher education, commerce and business and governance and a whole lot of disciplines associated in creating the great economy is revolving around business with atmita. Governance with atmita is basically governance for the people. That is what the democracy says. Democracy is not just government of the people and by the people, it is for the people. Unfortunately, often we talk about government by the people, we are conscious of government of the people, but very rarely we talk about governance for the people. Now there is a chance that the governance not only of the nation but governance of the university must be for the people. Who are those people? Naturally the students. That's why student-centric. In fact, in the word in our NEP 2020 that we need to turn our higher education around student-centric pedagogy, student-centric approach, student-centric teaching learning environment, student-centric research environment. And it is here I think governance of the people will have a meaning. Governance of the people will also have the meaning when we look at the interest of the teaching community. When I was a teacher at IIT, I looked at the IIT in those days, 1978. The budget of the department was 2.5 lakhs. We were 40 of us in mechanical engineering. और आपस में लड़ रहे थे कि मुझे ये मिलना चाहिए, मुझे मिलना चाहिए. मैंने देखा 5-5 हज़ार रुपये अगर मिल भी गए थोड़ी देर के लिए डेमोक्रेटिकली अगर कोई डिस्ट्रीब्यूट भी कर दे तो कौन सी बड़ी रिसर्च हो जाएगी मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग. So I said I'm not going to take even a penny from the department where we have very little money. This is only to buy chalk, duster, maybe some paper for photocopying, etc. The money for research must come from those who want our research. And that's why the objectivity of research and relevance of research, something which Professor Madhusudan talked about in the previous slide, is very, very important. You must ask for whom I'm doing this research. Can that person be partner in my research right from the day one? Can you fund part of it or whole of it? This is how you have to begin. और आपको सुन के हैरानी होगी, मैंने इमीडिएटली सोचा कौन मुझे फंड करेगा. देखा तो सर्कुलर फाइल में नोटिस आया हुआ था कि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया रिक्वायर्स सम प्रपोजल्स फॉर रिसर्च इन सच एरिया। हमने बना करके बढ़िया से प्रपोजल DRDO को भेजा, डिफेंस रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। 7.5 लाख रुपए का प्रोजेक्ट 1978 में बिना किसी रिव्यू के मुझे मिल गया। लोगों ने कहा कि आपकी दोस्ती होगी, कोई आपको जानता होगा, आपने फोन करवाया होगा। अरे मैं तो इंग्लैंड से आया हूँ, अभी 1 महीना भी तो नहीं हुआ, अभी कहाँ से फोन कराऊंगा। यू हैव टू राइट ए प्रपोजल which can impact the minds of those who will sponsor it and fund it. And therefore the quality of the proposal as well as its relevance and the context in which it is submitted for solving the problem. Problem solving has been mentioned in the previous slide. It's very, very important. You have to keep that in mind, keep the end in mind. And unless you do that, you will not be able to be successful in your research. In my own Amethi University, since I have been the president of the AIU also, at the last meeting of the vice chancellor said Mysore, he said let's make a declaration. आप सब लोग कुछ प्रण करो, तब तो बात बनेगी। केवल बातचीत करके वापस जाने से काम नहीं चलेगा। तो मैंने सबसे प्रण करवाया, मैंने कहा कि we will lead by example। इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी लीड बाय एग्जाम्पल, मतलब हम करेंगे वही कहेंगे। अब आप मुझसे पूछोगे कि आपने क्या किया। मैं जिस यूनिवर्सिटी में आज बैठा हूँ, आफ्टर ऑफ कोर्स IIT and Delhi Technological University and so on, दिस इज कॉल्ड अमेठी यूनिवर्सिटी गुरुग्राम। पहले तो द्रोणाचार्य का नाम लगा हुआ है गुरुग्राम से, बहुत खुशी होती है, भगवान कृष्ण वहाँ पर आए हैं। सो वी शुड लीड बाय एग्जाम्पल। आपको सुन के हैरानी होगी, हमारी 12 यूनिवर्सिटी है अमेठी की इंडिया में, और 12 की 12 वेजिटेरियन यूनिवर्सिटी। कैंपस के अंदर कोई नॉन वेजिटेरियन मेस नाम की चीज़ नहीं है, नॉन वेजिटेरियन कैंटीन भी नहीं है, और भगवान की कृपा है किसी ने प्रोटेस्ट भी नहीं किया पिछले 10-15 सालों से। Because we want to lead by example to tell our people that we are designed as human beings. Our teeth are vegetarian teeth. आप अपने दांत, गाय के दांत, घोड़े के दांत, बकरी के दांत जरा ध्यान से देख लीजिए, जो पत्ती खाते हैं केवल। आपको हैरानी होगी देख करके कि हमारे दांत they are not designed for non-vegetarian। और जरा थोड़ी देर के लिए किसी डॉग का या किसी बिल्ली का या थोड़ी देर के लिए बब्बर शेर के दांत देख लीजिए, उनके दांत दूसरी तरह से जाए। Our metabolism is also designed for vegetarian। Our entire body was supposed to be such that what we eat should be consumed in about an hour, or at the most 1.5 to 2 hours, not beyond. And that is why it's important for us now to care for our own people within our own university. If I don't lead by example in my university on ahimsa, on peace, on harmony, on truthfulness, taking care of the health of my own people, who would? No amount of lecture would really be important. And take me seriously, this is how the best universities of the world are working today. I receive every day mail from Harvard Medical School, from the Harvard University. And the mail is that we want to prepare the humanity without any medicines. They should lead a happy and healthy life. So every day Harvard Medical School, Harvard University is giving you tips how to be a healthy human being. Through exercises, through quality of food, through your work habits, and through maintaining your time and managing your time in a manner that you look after yourself as much as you look after your work and look after your organization. The world is changing, and we need to do this in India. In my opinion, the governance of the university must take on board how do we lead by example. How do we lead by example in saying that we are water secure campus? हम एक भी बूंद पानी का वहाँ से नहीं लेते हमारे सर से। The entire water harvesting is done within our own campus, and we reprocess every single drop of wastewater in our wastewater treatment plant within our own campus. Reutilize it also, so that the quality of treated water is such that we can certify. Even in the house of the Vice Chancellor, the treated wastewater is recirculated into the toilets and washrooms, and so that I know that the quality is right. It should not be the Vice Chancellor साहब के लिए तो बिस्लरी मंगा देते हैं क्या? So we are leading by example in water security, and you should not be surprised if I say that when 1,500 universities of the world from 115 countries were surveyed by Times Higher Education Impact Ranking, my university stood at number 32 in the top 100 in water security. अब इससे ज़्यादा और जरा मुझे बताइए, why should all central universities of the country not be water secure? Why should all IITs not be water secure? Why should all NITs not be water secure? Why should large state universities which are having hundreds of acres of campus not be water secure? I've been vice chancellor of 4 universities. Everywhere I've said water security is absolutely essential, otherwise university चलाने का कोई फायदा नहीं. Whether it was Technical University at Bhopal, whether it was Delhi Technological University, which I had the privilege of being the founder vice chancellor, whether it is of course my own Amity University, everywhere water security and energy security is very important. I have tremendous amount of greenery despite being on the doorstep of Rajasthan. हमारे थोड़ी दूर बाद राजस्थान लग जाता है. हमारी ग्रीनरी देख के लोग कहते हैं क्या ये तो इतना बढ़िया आपने स्वर्ग बना लिया. It is only because we are reutilizing the treated wastewater also for raising a lot of greenery. And take me seriously, if there is no greenery, there would be no oxygen also. So we are an oxygen-rich campus, and therefore the air quality in our campus is at least 4 times better than what you have in the capital city of Delhi. And we have a world-class monitoring station of the government of India to monitor the air quality, which is also supported by NASA to monitor the particulate matter and also aerosol, which are impacting the health of the people in India. Leading by example is something which is absolutely important. Creating research and innovation ecosystem by which you promote learning by doing and research of relevance to the industry is absolutely essential. And today I am sure we are in a fortunate position in India because our youngsters today, they are not looking for jobs, they are rather looking for making a good startup by which they are able to create jobs for others. I belong to a university where startups are coming up in plenty. Even in Delhi Technological University where I was, the employability was 150%, not just 15, 20 or 25%. 150% का मतलब हुआ कि आधे से ज़्यादा स्टूडेंट के पास एक से ज़्यादा पेपर्स थे. And the highest offers were going as high as 1.25 or 1.5 crores of rupees per annum. All that was possible. It was a government university. Now I am in a private university where the freedom to excel and freedom to innovate is infinite. I should be able to do even better. And this is how leading by example is absolutely necessary. Let me finish by saying what UNESCO has recently said in the context of future of higher education. The world is at crossroads, facing unprecedented transformations due to new models of work, because the future of work is being redefined. Many of us would be working tomorrow, mostly from home, maybe partly from office. We will be working for more than one employer also. As teachers, you would be teaching in more than one university. You would be teaching beyond the university, and you will be teaching around the world wherever your capabilities are required. That's the kind of future of work that is there. अभी तो अगर किसी को पकड़ लो किसी और यूनिवर्सिटी पढ़ा रहा है तो उसको सजा दी जाती है. During the COVID time, we found that people were teaching at more than one university because online education allows you to do that. उनको पकड़ करके मेरे सामने लाए कि सर इनको सजा सुनाइए. इन्होंने 3 यूनिवर्सिटी में लेक्चर्स दिए. मैंने कहा मैं तो उनको बिठा करके चाय पिलाऊंगा और मिठाई खिलाऊंगा. हाँ क्यों? They are creating the future. This is what exactly the context in which tomorrow's future of work would be. Question only is that you have to declare what you are doing. You have to be truthful about what you are doing, and tomorrow's technologies will be such that even if you do not want to disclose, your mobile will tell the vice chancellor that sir is teaching at such and such university. Because after all, the engagement is always through communication systems and through artificial intelligence and machine learning of the kind this little mobile is currently used to. It will in fact make the world totally transparent. We will be working in glass houses. Take me seriously, Satyamir Jayate would become a reality not only here in India but anywhere in the world and around the world. You would be moving into the world where the age-old ethos of India, of purity of mind, Mansa Sada Suchi, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhna, Sarve Shantu Niramaya would also become a reality not only here but around the world. It is this kind of world in which higher education is moving. Education is a public good and a global common good. This is what the UNESCO is saying. has to be considered as a public good. It is not a business for profit. It is not a business for profit. It is a business with Atmita. It's a business for a purpose of creating the bright future, not only for us, but for the coming generations. And it's also the business of maintaining this beautiful world in the best of our capability, so that Baba Vishwanath continue to bless us every day. It is also the world without education of the kind that is required for tomorrow would not be able to comply to sustainable development goals. 17 of them have been taken on board. With these words, let me conclude by saying that we are in good times. ये केवल मोदी जी की बात नहीं है, मैं आपको लिख करके दे सकता हूँ जो चिंताएं आज आपके पास हैं कि हमें जॉब मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा, हमारी प्रॉस्पेरिटी होगी अच्छी कि नहीं होगी, बढ़िया मकान होगा कि नहीं होगा। मेरा ऐसा मानना है गुड टाइम इज अहेड, where science and technology and people together with their capabilities of utilizing science, technology and society will be able to create a better world in which we would be able to live for 100 years and even beyond. My mother lived for 101 years. She gave me the target 100 साल जरूर पूरे करना। मैंने कहा जिस तरह का माहौल है उसमें तो बहुत मुश्किल लगता है, आपने तो अच्छा जमाना देखा है। But I think the good time is coming when we will take care of ourselves, when the government will be government for the people, when the business will be with Atmita, when universities will be governed with tremendous amount of empathy. Vice chancellors will keep their door wide open for anyone and everyone. They will walk around in the campus without bodyguards and look at the people and discuss and interact with them, and you will have in fact an environment in which the divine bliss will prevail in our university. With this hope, ladies and gentlemen, may I take this opportunity to thank Professor P.N. Singh Sahab for giving me this great opportunity to visit BHU once again. My first visit to this university was way back when Professor Hari Gautam ji was the Vice Chancellor. At that time I came as a part of Piley Committee to look at your 7-plan achievements and also to approve your 8-plan outlay. And I was so happy to see the kind of enthusiasm and interest with which the BHU was being revived into it. I'm sure you have come a long way and you have a great future and a great promise to deliver to Mother India. Thank you so much.